Well, I think we are all there, and they are there because they fully deserve where they are, what they have done in the last few years. I think the squad that they assembled, the numbers that they have, the amount of quality, the manager and the coaching staff that they have. It makes sense that what is happening there is very, very positive, and they deserve to be there. It's one of the teams that I enjoy the most watching, and they have a lot of fluidity, they have a lot of threat, they have a lot of individual talent, they are very clear what they want to do, and yeah, that's why they are very tough.
Mikel Arteta, I don't know what you think about this part. It's really giving it, a little bit like, a bit of pressure towards Chelsea there. What do you reckon?
Definitely. He's getting it every week. They're top of the league, etc., etc. He'll really just palm it out a little bit of that pressure.
Yeah.
I would suspect that he is looking at them as real contenders now, whereas perhaps at the start of the season he wasn't sure. Like us all, I think we was all quite wondering how Chelsea were going to cope from the World Club Championship.
Yeah.
The after effects of that, would they hit the ground running, and they've done exceptionally well. So it would make for a great viewing on Sunday.
Absolutely. And Roberto, this Arsenal side that you're looking at this season, come from a great win obviously against Spurs. You've played Bayern Munich, you've beat them at home as well. What do you think can stop this Arsenal side now?
Oh, at the moment they look unstoppable, don't they? I mean, they've been very consistent over not just this season, but probably the last 2 seasons, 3 seasons, and they've just become stronger and stronger. They're very solid now. Their defensive organisation is brilliant, and that's why they've conceded the least goals in the Premier League as well. But they have such an attacking threat as well. So it's very difficult to play against the Arsenal team because they press you very high, they press you very hard. So you don't have much time on the ball. So you have to be able as an opposition to go past the first press. If you manage to do that, then you might have a bit of space, because otherwise they just suppress you.
Yeah, exactly. And I know there's a lot of Spurs fans that won't want me to go back to last weekend, but I mean, Eberechi Eze, that hat-trick, it felt like almost a career-defining performance by him, would you say?
Yeah, certainly for his Arsenal career, because at QPR and at Crystal Palace he's been exceptional.
Yeah.
And they won the FA Cup with his goal, so it just goes to show that he was at the levels. But what he's done at Arsenal this year is you can see there's a new confidence in him. When you go to a big club and you grow with it sometimes, or you fold with it, and he's grown with it. And the hat-trick was a bit like Rice's 2 goals in the Champions League, a career-defining moment for him and the fan base, because obviously, Arsenal's biggest rivals and the North London derby, to get a hat-trick is,
this is the game you want to score in, isn't it?
Of course, and he's such a humble, lovely guy as well. You can tell that he's so loved by not just the fan base, but his fellow players, and he just takes each goal with such aplomb. It's just so natural for him.
Well, I mean, the difficulty now, especially after a game like this, is Mikel Arteta now has a fit Martin Odergard, club captain. Roberto, for you, if you have that decision, sorry, I mean, look, I could have asked either of you. No, in fact, I will ask both of you. I mean, you've got Eze, you've got Odergard. What are you doing ahead of this weekend?
It's a tough decision, but I don't know what it's going to do. Either way, I mean, the team looks very well organised, whether the one place or the other place. Now, Eze is obviously, the top of his game, so full of confidence, had a great week. You might consider that he's played 2 games in a short period of time, so might bring in some fresh legs for Sunday, but that's really down to the manager, how he sees them on a daily basis on the training ground, and then make a decision about it.
How much of a headache is that as a manager, Alan, to have a player that is pushing your captain in that position?
Well, most football managers have a lose-lose situation with the centre-back, and the other centre-back's not, just as bad as the one that's come out. This is a win-win, you know what I mean? He can't lose, so whoever he puts on the bench is a massive asset to have that coming off the bench. I would suspect that he would keep Eze in the team, because my natural reaction would be to play players in form. I mean, obviously, he's so high in his own emotion at the moment of getting a hat-trick that I would start with him.
As you can also see, we've been joined by a Chelsea legend, both as a player and manager, Roberto Di Matteo. Roberto, thank you so much for joining us. I've got to say, Alan called this because I know you had a little bit of traffic issues, and Alan was like, "Don't worry, he's going to be here. He's going to be here." And
you're still fine though, bro. You're still fine.
Yeah, it's still a point.
I know.
Roberto, I'll start. We just saw Enzo Maresca there talking, all things Chelsea, about Declan Rice as well. But with Maresca, do you feel like Chelsea are under or overachieving?
I think they're just right at where they have to be in this time of the year. I mean, last season, Champions League qualification was an objective or a target. They achieved that, won 2 trophies, was great. It's always nice to put a few trophies in the cabinet.
Yeah, of course.
And then this season, they're up there in the league. They are in a very good position in the Champions League, performing at a high level as well. There's just a little bit of still inconsistency there, maybe in 1 or 2 games, but all in all, I think they are doing very, very well.
It's a weird one because you mentioned those inconsistencies every now and again, but sometimes it feels like the fans haven't fully embraced him yet. Do you know what I mean, Alan?
Well, the one thing I would say is that he's been really solid with the players. There's not really any kind of noises coming out of there, and the ball, more importantly for him.
Yeah.
He seems to be juggling a lot of things there because the squad is huge, a lot of young players. He's done exceptionally well, in my opinion. And the team is gelling nicely. The performance in the week was terrific, and they'll take that into Arsenal.
And Cole Palmer's obviously been out. He's only had 2 Premier League starts. Is it a case of get him in as quickly as possible, do you reckon, Roberto?
I wouldn't expect him to start on Sunday because he's been out for a while now, and also the team has been performing extremely well. So it'd be a surprise if he's on the starting lineup. But he's a player that he can unlock a game. He's a player that has done some marvelous stuff for the club, and it's good news that now end of November he's available again, because now then the Christmas period is coming out with many games, so you need all your players available if possible.
Yeah, Alan, what would you say? I mean, he's been out. Obviously, Chelsea have been on this good run of form. Like they're second in the table, as we say, playing well in the Champions League. All of a sudden, Cole Palmer becomes available. Physio saying to you, he's fit to start. What are you doing?
He goes on the bench. I mean, Roberto, I tell you, the one thing that you're under pressure on as a manager is to play a player too early, and he gets an injury. Play him full 90 minutes at that level. So to introduce him, particularly on the back of a winning team, is like the perfect scenario. So if the game's not going so well with 20 minutes to go, it will lift the stadium, and lift the team, because obviously he's an exceptional talent.
Well, there was one talent you were talking about as well, Estevão.
Wow.
And I think you're right. I think it's that thing with a player like that really just lifts not just the players around him, but the crowd.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing a commentary there, and Estevão, I've never heard, and Roberto probably backed this out, I've not heard the excitement from Chelsea fans for a long time. Maybe going back to even Hazard when he first arrived. The level that he produces. He come on against Wolves and changed the game. He's got exceptional talent and so quick over that sort of first 2-3 yards that he's almost impossible to defend. So outside or inside, whichever way he's going to go, it's very difficult to stop him. He has a confidence about him. He's starting for Brazil at such an early age. It's just a terrific prospect.
He's become Brazil's penalty taker as well. He's 18 years old. Roberto, have you been surprised? I mean, seeing someone that come from Palmeiras, straight from the Brazilian league into a title contending Chelsea side, and he's adapting so well to the Prem.
Yes, I was surprised. I mean, it amazes me how mature he is for his age. I watched him in the summer in the FIFA Club World Cup when he played there for Palmeiras, but to expect him to come to England, a new country, new language, new environment, and then start off so well, that did surprise me a little bit. But you meet him, and he's a really humble guy, and he's got a great family behind him, around him. So he's very settled in here in London or in Cobham, and so and he's an exciting player. I mean, when I first watched him in the States, I was like, wow, this is special talent. And he's slowly developing, because let's not forget, he's still very, very young. Yeah. But he has so many skills and attributes, and he's only going to get better as well. So he's going to be a top player. Yeah, absolutely. As a manager, right, this may seem like a silly question, but if the game's a little bit dull, you are looking for that injection. Are you thinking about a player that the crowd all of a sudden are going, we've all been waiting to see him?
Well, of course, you always got that in the back of your mind, a sort of armoury as a manager, to kind of have a player that can lift the stadium. I mean, I had a talent at Newcastle in Ben Arthur who had that same, the excitement around him was like perhaps above his ability even.
Yeah.
But it just is, and it just creates such a presence when he enters the field, etc., etc. But Palmer is a player that also carries that. So Chelsea are lucky; they got two really outstanding players, young players, who can lift a stadium, whether they're on the pitch or coming in later. It's a great asset.
It really is. Well, look, we've spoken a bit about Enzo Maresca, but Mikel Arteta is also an admirer of the Chelsea head coach. He said today he loves watching Chelsea play.
Julian Laurent joining us now to talk more about this. So the news there for the Chelsea fans, as you heard, is that Cole Palmer is fit and ready to play and that he can play alongside Estevão. On the Cole Palmer being fit, guys, would you start him?
No, he might be fit from the injury, but I don't think he's match fit yet, unless he's had lots of games behind closed doors. Chelsea have played well in the last couple of games. It's a massive game for him. If he starts off and doesn't perform particularly well because he's not fully fit and can't adjust to the pace of the game, that would be a blow to him. So if I was the manager, I'd be looking to bring him on after about 60 minutes, depending on how the game's going.
You're nodding along there, Shaq?
Yeah, I fully agree. Listen, 2 months out is a long time in this game in terms of bringing a player back in and throwing him in at the deep end to start with. As good a player as Cole Palmer may be, logic suggests, as Robbo said, start him on the bench. If things go easy or things are ease up later on, you could bring him on if it's needed, whatever it may be. But no way you start it.
Which version of Chelsea would scare you most, Jules?
Oh, the one with Cole Palmer, but again, the one with a fully fit, match fit Cole Palmer, not really the one that we have. He hasn't played since September. I agree with the boys. And also, if there's one game where you really have to be match fit and at your best physically to play against the team, is Arsenal, because you know the intensity, you know the physicality that they're going to bring into this game, even away at Stamford Bridge. So if Palmer is not really match fit, there's no, it's not that there's no point, because he's still Chelsea's best player, but like Robbo said, it's much better if you bring him on, and they're going to build these minutes anyway. You can't just, this is the Premier League, it's not Sunday morning football. You can't just arrive after 2 months without playing football and play at this kind of level against the best team in Europe. So it's natural that he would be on the bench and then maybe come on, otherwise he would play the next game.
Jules, this is your strongest 11 right now, considering the fact that Cole Palmer is just coming back. This is what you put together for Chelsea.
Yeah, because I want to see Estevão in there. I think he deserves to start even against Arsenal. He played really well against Barcelona on Tuesday night in the Champions League. That would mean moving Neto on the other side, where it's not obviously the best wing for Neto. He's better on the right hand side. He's left-footed like Estevão, but I think he can do a really good job with Cucurella on that left-hand side. Joao Pedro as the 9 ahead of Neto, who played against Barcelona, or the lap. Enzo Fernandez cannot play deeper, not against a team like Arsenal. He's not mobile enough. He's not defensive-minded enough. So he would play in that 10 where Palmer would play if Palmer was started, and then Reece James, because Lavia is injured again, and Reece James is what Maresca has of closer to be able to play in that defensive position in a double pivot with Caicedo, and I think the back four picks itself really.
What do you think of that 11?
It's the best 11 they could put out against Arsenal, and Jules is absolutely right. Against Arsenal, who play with intensity, play with great strength, great physicality, the pace of the game is going to be great. I don't think Fernandes can play as that holding midfield player alongside Caicedo, who's been excellent. He's going to be a key player for them. And Reece James coming in from, he did it quite well when he was actually playing at right back and then would come into midfield. Now he's playing as a midfield player all the time, and I think he does the job well. You could question maybe one or two of the centre halves. They've got 3 or 4 centre halves, are all very similar in sort of performance level. But that's probably the best team. And Neto is a dangerous player out on that left-hand side.
Are we seeing a competitive matchup here?
As competitive as you can get from Chelsea, and especially kind of given the game against Barcelona that Jules referenced. Okay, Neto drops back and goes wide as Joao Pedro comes in as the out-and-out striker. But given that performance, given how good that lineup worked for Enzo Maresca, no need to tinker any more than that, and bringing João Pedro in and adjusting Neto to suit. I think, it makes perfect sense.
We're just going to take a look at the standings, because obviously we know how strong Arsenal have been recently, at the top of the table in the Premier League as it stands. If they win, they'd be at least 7 points clear of Manchester City, 9 points clear of Chelsea, and at least 11 points clear of Liverpool as well. The title race would be over, wouldn't it, Jules? You've got to say so then.
Well, you can't win the title in at the end of November or the beginning of December, but it will start to be a very significant gap, to be fair. And obviously anything can happen later in the season. If Arsenal go find the Champions League, for example, and we'll have to play huge games at the weekend and in midweek, then at the weekend again, this can take a lot out of you. But if by the start of December they're already 7 clear, 9 clear, and even more on Liverpool, who are Chelsea, City and Liverpool will be the 3 biggest challengers that they would have this season, really, then I think it's obviously a huge boost for them and a huge step towards the title. But it would not be decided in December.
What do you say?
Well, I said on the show, I think last week, at the moment, I'm 100% sure that Arsenal will win the title, because they are playing very well. I can't see any of the other sides being consistent enough to cause them a problem. They've got a big squad that can come in when, and Jules just said it, when they're playing in the Champions League and playing in the FA Cup and lots of big games. They've got a big enough squad now to rotate that and still be a very good side. Arsenal have got it all going at the moment.
What does the algorithm say?
The algorithm says it's Arsenal's all the way. Listen, and I get Jules' point. It's late November going into early December, and conventional wisdom says no title is decided then. But it'll take a very brave or very stupid man to put a bet on anybody else other than Arsenal at this point to win the title. So that being said, right now you can only see it going one way unless something extraordinary happens back end of the season. I'm not the one putting a bet on anybody else.
All right, so nobody's too much going against Arsenal. Jules keeping a level head here. We're about to put him to the test, though, because here are the predictions. It's pretty much across the board. Everybody's saying Arsenal will win this one, except for Shock Frank Leboeuf. He's not here to explain himself, although we don't need him to. We all know why he's picked Chelsea there. But Jules, this is a bit of a litmus test for you, because yesterday on the show we reported Joshua Kimmich saying that PSG are better than Arsenal. So now we're going to ask you to pick between 2 teams you're very fond of, PSG or Arsenal. Who's better?
I mean, right now, I love Joshua Kimmich, but right now, Arsenal are the better team, the best team in Europe. There's just no doubt. PSG are nowhere near the level that they were in the second half of last season, when they were better than anybody else. I think he said that he preferred the style of football that PSG are playing, which is fine. We said on the show before, and it's no disrespect to Arsenal or not taking anything away from them, but they don't play the most sexy football in Europe right now. As we said, it's very powerful, it's very efficient in the 2 boxes, it's very solid, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of intensity, but it's not the most free-flowing football, for example. So I can see where Kimmich is coming from, although he also said that all they do is long balls, when if you look at Wednesday night's game, Bayern Munich had more long balls in that game than Arsenal. So maybe Kimmich was a little bit better to have lost that game. But I can see where he's coming from. I mean, Mikel Arteta would be very happy to win the title, even if his team doesn't play that great.
There's no power rankings this week. They had a Thanksgiving break. However, Shaq, if there had been power rankings this week, who would have been ahead of who?
Arsenal at top. Arsenal at top. Given everything we've seen from them, was it 13 wins in their last 14, the dismantling of Bayern Munich, despite what Joshua Kimmich says, I thought that was a very good performance. Now, to Kimmich's point, you could maybe make the argument that PSG right now are better than PSG were this time last year. We saw what they did in the second half of the season and how that all came together. But that being said, right now, Arsenal is still better than the version of PSG right now. They know what they're doing. They're efficient at what they do. They won't get sucked into the trap of trying to pass their way out of pressure, to Kimmich's point about the balls going over the top. If you press high up, they are more than comfortable in going over the top of that pressure. And that's credit to Arsenal. That's credit to Arteta and how he sets his teams up, that they can play in any way up against any kind of opponent. They're just that good or that efficient right now.
Craig brought up yesterday the experience factor here, though, and that going in PSG's favour right now.
Yes, that's the only thing I can see going in PSG's favour, because they are going to get better. I think Jules said they're not playing at their very best as they were last year. But the thing about Arsenal is that and the best teams are always able to do this. No matter what sort of game it's going to be, we're ready for it. If you want to fight, we'll have a fight and we'll out-scrap you, we'll out-battle you. If you want it to be a game of intensity, we'll do that as well. If we have to go long, we'll go long and we'll win the knockdowns and play from there. If it's a game where there's not too many chances and it comes to set pieces, we'll win that battle as well. So at the moment, Arsenal are the best team. At the moment, Arsenal are the best team. But they do play a different style of football to PSG, who can pass you off the field, have got great movement, great individual quality. But what I've seen in the Champions League so far, and as Jules said, PSG haven't quite been at their very best.
I will say, I'll quote Frank Leboeuf here. Frank always talks about you have to hit the post before it goes in first. Now, Arsenal sitting in the league have hit the post 3 times now. Maybe this is the year that it comes good for them, but they still haven't gotten to that final and understand and get to experience that environment and the pressure that comes with it. Whereas so many of Europe's other big boys can boast as much. Not Arsenal, and you just wonder, as good as they are, and again, as good as that performance was, as good as they look right now, will that experience be the decider?
Mikel Arteta has made it clear that Arsenal will need to unleash their complete player against Bayern Munich. The Gunners host the German champions at the Emirates Stadium on Wednesday, and one man in particular could be decisive. Ebereki Eze, described as a very complete player by teammate Mikel Merino, is emerging as one of Arsenal's most dangerous weapons ahead of their Champions League clash with Bayern. The 27-year-old announced himself in North London with a stunning hat-trick in his first derby since arriving in a £67.5 million move from Crystal Palace. His 3 brilliant goals dismantled Tottenham, and truthfully, he could have scored even more. Merino believes every one of Arsenal's 8 summer signings has lifted the squad's level, helping the team build a 6-point lead at the top of the Premier League. But Wednesday's matchup is different. Bayern Munich, the reigning Bundesliga champions, represent the toughest test yet for Arteta's side. Speaking after the win over Spurs, Merino praised Eze's qualities and hinted at the impact he could have in such a high-stakes European battle. "We've brought in a lot of players who can make a difference. But you can see that other teams have spent big as well," the Spain international said. "Individual brilliance can win matches, sure, but in the end, it's the team that matters. If you have great players who don't connect, that's a problem. The good thing about this group is that everyone thinks about the team first." When asked about Eze specifically, Merino didn't hesitate. "I think he's incredibly complete. He can dribble, he can pass, and his technical quality is outstanding. In Spain, we always talk about players who can connect with others. He has that naturally. He grew up with that instinct to link play, move the ball, and build relationships on the pitch. He also has the mindset to get involved, demand the ball, and influence the game. At the same time, he's strong, he can take players on, and he can finish. He's a truly complete signing." Merino also touched on how the modern game often reduces players to simple numbers. "These days everyone judges players by goals and assists, that's just how it is. But as footballers, we see the deeper qualities he brings, the technique, the movement, the intelligence. Even in training, you can tell immediately how special he is. Yes, he's scoring goals, but he's much more than that. He's an exceptional player, and we're incredibly lucky to have him. He can play in several positions and adapt to different systems. He's been a huge addition for Arsenal." Beyond the technical qualities, Merino believes Eze's attitude, and the healthy competition within the squad, will be crucial in Arsenal's title push. You can hear the calm in Ebereki's voice and see it in the way he carries himself. He's confident, grounded, and every morning we sit together in the sauna at the training ground and talk about everything, he added with a smile. "He's a great guy, already fully integrated, and we need players like him. Competition is fierce. There's so much quality in this squad." That's exactly what the manager wanted, as many top players as possible, all ready to play. It makes his decisions tough, choosing who starts and who doesn't, but it also pushes every one of us to give our best in every session. And that's why we're improving as a team. As Arsenal prepare for Bayern's arrival, Arteta is facing one of the most delicate balancing acts of the season. The squad is healthy, competition is fierce, and expectations have never been higher. But behind the scenes, there is a growing sense that Eze's versatility and calm presence may be essential against a Bayern side known for controlling the tempo in big European nights. Arteta himself has hinted at Eze's importance without naming him directly. After the Tottenham victory, the manager spoke about the need for players who can break pressure, dictate rhythm, and stay composed when the game becomes chaotic. Those inside the club believe those comments were aimed at Ease as much as anyone. The coaching staff has been particularly impressed by how quickly he has adapted to Arsenal's positional play structure, a system that demands far more tactical discipline than what he was used to at Crystal Palace. Analysts at the club point to his growing influence not only in the final third, but also in build-up phases, where his ability to glide past pressure could help Arsenal bypass Bayern's aggressive midfield line. There is also an awareness that Bayern's fullbacks tend to push high, leaving spaces between the lines. Ease's skill set, sharp turns, deceptive acceleration, and precise final balls, could be exactly what Arteta needs to exploit those gaps. Outside the club, pundits have already started circling Wednesday's match as a defining moment for the £67.5 million signing. Some believe that if Ease can impose himself on a Champions League quarter-final against Bayern Munich, it will confirm his arrival among Europe's elite creative players. Former players have echoed that sentiment. Several ex-Arsenal figures, speaking on television over the weekend, highlighted the need for someone who can change the temperature of the match with a moment of calm or an unexpected burst of creativity. Ease, they argued, is one of the few in the squad capable of both. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich come into the match with their own confidence. Their midfield trio has been one of the most dominant in Europe this season, and they have shown a repeated ability to suffocate opponents early. That dynamic is precisely why Arteta may lean on Ease's composure. When the game tightens, Arsenal will need a player capable of slowing it down, protecting the ball, and finding solutions in tight spaces. Within Arsenal's dressing room, Merino's praise reflects a broader consensus. Senior players have reportedly been struck by Ease's humility and work ethic, qualities that have helped him integrate seamlessly into a squad that already had strong internal chemistry. Staff members describe him as someone who never forces the game, and lets the match come to him, characteristics that could prove invaluable in a high-tension Champions League tie. As kickoff approaches, the narrative surrounding the match has shifted. What began as a test of Arsenal's resilience has quietly become a spotlight on whether Ease can elevate them in Europe the same way he has in the Premier League. For Arteta, the equation is simple. If Arsenal are to overcome Bayern, they will need more than intensity. They will need control. They will need creativity. And increasingly, they will need the completeness Ease brings to every phase of the pitch. Whether he starts in a wide role as a floating midfielder, or even as an interior playmaker, the expectation is the same. Ease will have to find the spaces others cannot, and influence the game in ways that statistics alone will not capture. The stakes are high, the opponent is formidable, and the spotlight is intense. But within the walls of London Coney, the belief is growing that this is exactly the kind of stage Ebereki Ease was signed for. Martin Odergard is nearing a return to action after suffering a medial collateral ligament injury in Arsenal's 2-0 win over West Ham earlier in October. Yet, 3.5 years after Mikel Arteta named him captain, the Norwegian finds himself in an unfamiliar position. His place in the starting lineup is no longer guaranteed. For the first time since joining the club permanently from Real Madrid in August 2021, there is real debate over whether he remains an automatic choice for Arteta's 11. Odegaard, now 26, has been central to Arsenal's resurgence under Arteta, the conductor who shaped the team's rhythm through some of their most fluid football. But this season, the Gunners have been forced to navigate long stretches without their captain, first due to a shoulder issue that kept him out of 4 matches in September, and then because of a knee collision with West Ham's Crescencio Somerville that sidelined him again. And during his absence, something significant happened. Ebereki Ease stepped into the spotlight. Ease's sensational hat-trick in the North London Derby has complicated the picture. Now thriving in a central role, the England international has given Arsenal a different kind of presence around the edge of the box. A blend of unpredictability, directness, and two-footed confidence that opponents struggle to contain. He may not control games with the same metronomic precision as Odegaard, but he offers a spark, a willingness to take risks at moments when Arsenal need a jolt of creativity. After such a standout performance against Tottenham, it feels almost impossible to imagine Arteta leaving Ease out. The manager has always had a soft spot for players riding a wave of confidence, and Ease is currently surfing at full height. There was a similar situation back in September, when Mikel Merino was handed a start against Manchester City after scoring 4 times in 2 games for Spain, including a hat-trick against Turkey. Arteta doesn't hesitate to reward form. Ease has carried that form onto the international stage as well, recently scoring a stunning goal for England in a 2-0 win over Serbia in the World Cup qualifiers at Wembley. Though he can play on the left, it has always been clear that Arteta brought him to the Emirates to operate in midfield. And with Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi near untouchable in the double pivot, The odds of Ease and Odergard consistently starting together seem slim. That leaves Odergard in an unfamiliar position. He needs minutes to rebuild sharpness, yet Arsenal's medical team won't rush him. The plan is likely to ease him back through short substitute appearances before restoring him to larger roles. But even once fully fit, Odergard faces genuine competition, because Ease has shifted the landscape. His arrival has raised the team's ceiling, and his performances have earned him the right to keep his place. Before the dismantling of Tottenham, Ease had scored only twice for Arsenal, one against Port Vale in the Carabao Cup and another versus his former club Crystal Palace, a clever finish that sealed victory. Now, with 5 goals across all competitions, he sits just one behind Odegaard's total from last season, when the captain made 45 appearances. Odegaard's 2023-24 numbers were outstanding: 11 goals, 12 assists, influence written across every competition. That is the standard he must match again if he wants to reclaim his spot, because Ease is hungry, confident, and eager to impress ahead of next summer's World Cup. Arteta will insist that Arsenal need both players at their best if they are to meet their ambitions in the months ahead. And with Kai Havertz also working his way back to full fitness, potentially slotting into midfield behind marquee striker Victor Gyökeres, the battle for places has never been fiercer at the Emirates. For Odegaard, the message is clear: he must rise to the challenge. His leadership and quality remain unquestioned, but he can no longer rely on reputation alone. If he embraces the competition and fights his way back into the side, his return could push Arsenal to even greater heights. And if the team has already reached this level without several key figures, the potential for what comes next may be even greater. Inside the club, staff members are quietly acknowledging that Arsenal are entering a new phase, one where no player, not even the captain, is immune to tactical evolution. Arteta has spent the past 2 seasons building a squad capable of sustaining pressure across multiple competitions, and the emergence of Ease is a sign that the manager's long-term planning is beginning to bear fruit. Depth is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. But with depth comes difficult decisions. Arteta has always valued balance in midfield, and the contrasting profiles of Odegaard and Ease force him to reconsider what type of midfield best suits the team's ambitions in Europe and the Premier League. The technical control and spatial awareness that Odegaard brings have defined Arsenal's identity under Arteta. Conversely, Ease's dynamism, physical presence, and unpredictable touches give Arsenal a new dimension, especially against teams that sit deep or defend aggressively in central areas. This internal shift has also caught the attention of analysts and former players. Several pundits have begun to question whether the captaincy should guarantee a place in the lineup, especially at a club with ambitions of challenging for the Champions League. Others argue that Odegaard's leadership is too valuable to sideline, pointing to the standards he sets in training and his influence over younger players. Those debates are already spilling into the media, and they will only intensify as the season progresses. There is also the tactical question of whether Arteta might eventually experiment with a system that accommodates both Ease and Odegaard, something he briefly attempted earlier in the season during the win over West Ham. But with Rice and Zubimendi forming an almost impenetrable midfield pairing, any reshuffle risks destabilizing the defensive structure that has made Arsenal one of the most resilient teams in the league. The manager has hinted that he is open to adjustments, but only if they enhance the team's overall cohesion. For Odegaard himself, the challenge is as much psychological as it is physical. He has worked hard to cultivate an image of calm authority, a leader who raises the level of those around him through clarity and consistency. Now he must show that he can adapt, compete, and respond to adversity. His teammates still speak of him with admiration, describing him as one of the most studious and detail-oriented players at London Coney. They believe that once he regains full rhythm, he will naturally reassert his influence. Yet even they acknowledge that the landscape has shifted. One senior player privately remarked that, "The team is different now, Ease has changed what we can do in the final third." That sentiment reflects not a lack of faith in Odegaard, but an understanding that Arsenal have evolved while he has been sidelined. For Arteta, the ideal scenario is straightforward: a fully fit Odegaard competing with a fully confident Ease, creating a level of internal competition that lifts the entire squad. The manager often speaks about the need for healthy tension among his players, pressure that keeps standards high without fracturing unity. The arrival of Victor Gyökeres, combined with the recovery of Havertz, only amplifies that dynamic. Arsenal's season will almost certainly hinge on these midfield decisions. With Champions League knockout matches approaching and the Premier League title race tightening, Arteta must decide not only who starts, but what kind of identity he wants his team to carry into the defining months of the campaign. The next few weeks will reveal whether Odegaard's return sparks a resurgence or a battle for relevance. If he manages to reclaim his place, it could serve as a reminder of why Arteta trusted him with the armband in the first place. If he struggles, it will underline how rapidly Arsenal are progressing, and how little room there is for sentiment at the highest level. Either way, the captain's response will shape not just his future, but the trajectory of a team that believes it is on the brink of something significant.